All right, everybody. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Thanks for joining. You're probably wondering why I'm holding some big piece of lumber in my hands, but today we're going to go through how to build a ball position model. So this something I came up with to put in my simulator, and tried out different ball positions and kind of get a good gauge on where we need to be on stock shots and what the extremes on each one do. So in this video, first we're going to go through how I built this thing. This cost probably $10 to build from Home Depot. I bought a set of brackets for $5. This 1x4 I had laying around, but I'm sure this is just common board. I'm sure you can get it for probably less than $5. I'll put the prices for each of the products I used in this video right here on the screen. So first I'm going to take you out into the shop, show you how I'm going to build this. Just kind of a quick rundown. I made this top board, so it's going to lay down just like this. And then it's going to tell me where the ball positions are. But so my top board is just literally the width of my hitting area. And then the long board basically runs all the way across my mat, so it'll go in between my legs. So I can find right off my zipper line, get right in the middle of that long board, and then I can move the ball position around from there. So, yep, like I said, we'll go out into the shop. I'll show you guys how I build this. Really simple. I don't know. I'm sure they have training aids out there that are like this, but this is just something I came up with. I really want to start working on ball position to improve ball striking, especially with drivers. So I'll go through it in the next video when I'm building it, but you'll see this area here is all for irons basically, and then up here is driver off the front foot. And then just so you know how I came up with driver, I laid this thing down. I got a nice wide driver stance. I put a couple pieces of tape down right here, measured from the center of this board to my heel, and then that's where I started my, so that would be my middle driver position, right off my inside heel of my front foot, and then we went a ball up and a ball back from there. So we'll go through this. Then after I show you the build, we'll go through all the numbers. I'll hit one good shot with each setting, compare the numbers at the end, and see where we end up with. Thanks for joining for another week. All right, everybody, we're out in the shop here. I'm going to show you how I do this. So this is the 28-inch piece of wood that I cut. The reason I chose 28 inches is because that's how long my impact strip is on my mat. So that's going to help me with those lines on that mat square this thing up to the, the hitting zone and where we're aiming. So I've already marked this all out, but I just wanted to go through how I did it. The first thing you're going to want to do is cut yourself a piece of wood that's 1 inch and 11/16. That's the width of a golf ball. It's going to be pretty key for you. And then you're going to want to find the center point of that, because that's going to help us lay this all out. So flip this all over. So the way I did this, I marked it in blue and green. Blue is for like irons and wedges, and then the green's for the driver. So the way I started going through this, so I found the middle of this board, which is 14 inches. I lined that up there with the mark on the center of the golf ball width. And then we started marking, so I just marked each corner here and then moved it on down. So basically there you're going 1 ball back. Obviously there you're going 2 balls back. There you're 1 ball up. And then right there, you're 2 balls up. So then I would just, after I mark those lines, you just take a square, draw straight lines. And then for the driver portion, I'll explain how I did that. But so I went into the golf simulator. I got, a nice wide stance, and I lined this middle. You'll see the board coming out in the completion video. So that's the middle. I lined that up right with the zipper of my pants. Got a good width on how I wanted the driver stance to be, and it ended up, I put a piece of tape down at my feet, and it ended up being about 8 inches on each foot from the middle as a nice wide driver stance for me. Now everybody's going to be different on that. You're going to have to take your own measurements. But so I marked right here, you'll see that's the middle. So that's 8 inches from the center right here. So then just like with the irons, we took the golf ball width, lined it up with the middle, drew our lines. So that would be our driver in our standard middle setting. And then I moved it over, marked it, so that the further up you go, obviously the more fade you're gonna hit. And then right here would be your draw setting. So that's one ball back, fade is one ball forward. And then I just drew black scribblies there to kind of separate the irons versus the driver. So now we're gonna move over here. Okay, so now we got the alignment board all marked out. So we got now our 48-inch piece laying down here that's turning into our tee. So you're gonna wanna mark the middle of this board, and then you're gonna line that up with obviously the middle of that board. Get your square in here, and then you're gonna wanna put some wood glue in this gap, and then start. Obviously, once you get everything square, that's what this blue square is for. Make sure it's perfect. And then you're gonna screw those black brackets into each side. So that one there, a little bit of wood glue, and we're good to go. All right, everybody, we got the thing built. So we're gonna start going into hitting some shots here. Just the standard range. We're gonna hit shots from each ball position. I'm just gonna hit what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna edit out the bad ones on this, so we can keep the video a little shorter. So once we get one good shot from each station, we're gonna move on to the next one. So right now we're starting with the 54-degree sand wedge, just starting in the middle position. So as I'm setting up to this thing, I'm making sure my zipper line is right in the middle of this board, and then that obviously the ball is directly in front of the section we're going for, which is middle. Then I just scoot up to it and hit. So with this middle setting, we should honestly just get pretty neutral flights. I usually play, my wedges, I play probably a ball back, so this middle might come off a little weird. There's a good one. So as you can see, the flight's pretty neutral. Maybe a little bit of a fade, but not much at all. Goes about mid-height for wedges, so that's middle. Now we're gonna move on to one ball back. All right, here we are to one ball back. Let's get that lined up perfectly. Middle of the wood, one ball back. Now this looks more like the position I usually play my wedges in. But there you go. I mean, it's might be a little bit lower. It didn't draw at all. It's obviously going to be hard to draw or fade wedges. So that's one ball back. Now we'll go to two balls back. So now we're at two balls back. I would still use this on the course sometimes if I'm trying to knock it down. But I generally like my balls back a little bit further than probably the average person. Especially with wedges, I just feel like I can kind of drive them a little more. Now this one should draw a little bit. See, it's lower, it's pretty straight, pretty standard. That's a good one. That's why I like that flight better. 60 height. I'm not sure what the other ones were at, but that's why I play that back there sometimes. I'll always be at least one ball back with wedges, sometimes two, depending on the shot I'm trying to hit. So now we're gonna go to one ball up. So about right there. I'm probably gonna suck at these, honestly. I never play my wedges up, so I'm gonna have to really try and get through. Now this should go higher. Much higher. It's actually pretty good if you're trying to come into like a front pin and hit it high. That's probably when I would use that. So that one worked. Now we'll go to two balls up. All right, here we are at two balls up. Now this just looks crazy for a wedge. It looks like it's way up there. So this should go really high. I doubt it'll fade. It's just really hard to move move the ball either way with wedges because there's so much loft. But it should go really high. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I expected. I figured the face would come through a little shut because I'm shutting it down. I'm just not used to playing it up there. That would take some work. But as you can see, it went nice and high. So if I was playing that, I'd probably aim a little right, knowing I was going to pull it a little bit. All right, so now we're going to move on to the 8-iron and do the same thing. Okay, here are the results for the 54-degree wedge, the sand wedge. So I wish I would have organized this a little bit differently. It didn't put it in a great order, but I can't really change that. So the first one, this is just your standard ball in the middle, your stance position is carrying 87, descending at 52 with 11,000 spin and an apex of 65. And then as you can see in these ones that are 2 up and 1 up, the 2 up one I must have just hit really well because it carried kind of far. But you'll see the difference coming in here in the descent angle. So obviously coming in steeper, and they're much higher, 85 and 83 versus 65 for the middle. And then one back carried about 96 yards, so about the same distance. Actually a little more than the mid, and about the same as the other two. So, but as you can see here, they stayed a lot lower. So 57 on the height and 76 feet on the height for those two, and they spin a little less, more around the 10,000 number. But when I'm playing wedges, I like them coming in lower. They're automatically going to have enough descent angle, and it's a lot easier to control distance when you keep them lower. So that's why I'm always playing my wedges, like I said in the video, either 1 back or 2 back, depending on the shot. So and also you can see when you keep that flight down, the distance control is much better than when you get it up in here, where I mean there's 13 yards of deviation between this middle one and this high one. So if you want to control your wedges, play it back a little bit and hit it lower, and you'll get a lot better distance control. All right, we're on 8-iron. Gonna start off in the middle position again. So right down the zipper line, right in the middle. This is probably about where I'd play this, if not maybe a half a ball back, but there's a good one. So as you can see, not a lot of draw, not a lot of fade. Goes middle height as you'd expect. So now we'll move on to 1 ball back. Okay, so 1 ball back. This should go a little lower. Could start to draw a little bit. There you go. A little lower, drawing, face closed. Now that wasn't perfect, but I think it'll definitely show the difference. So we'll go to 2 balls back. 2 balls back. Now this is gonna feel like a punch shot probably. Centered up. Yeah, it's way back there. So this is gonna come out low, and I would imagine it's gonna draw. There you go. Nice low bullet draw. So if you want to get a little extra distance, keep it low. 2 ball back would be a good shot, especially like if you're playing into the wind or something, but it might be a little harder to control. All right, 1 ball forward we go. Here we are at 1 ball forward. So this would be if you're trying to hit it a little higher. I probably wouldn't play this up here much. I'd be more middle or 1 ball back. But let's see, it should go higher, might start to cut a little. It's pretty high, pretty straight. Maybe I should play it 1 ball forward. That's nice, I like that. All right, we're gonna go on to 2 balls up. 8 iron, 2 balls up. Now this should go really high. And it should cut, in theory. Even though I'm not much of a cutter of the golf ball. There you go, really high, still pretty straight. So I have a little problem with obviously shutting the face a little bit on everything, so for me to hit cuts is pretty hard. But you'll definitely see with the height and the launch, that's 2 balls up and it goes high. Let's see if I can hit one more and get it to cut. High cut. Now I'm not trying to hit a cut, I'm just swinging what I would consider a neutral swing and seeing what happens. Really high, really weak, and cutty. So that's why I'm not playing that ball up there. All right, we'll check the numbers on the 8 irons and we'll move on to 5 irons, I believe. 8 iron results. So starting off in the middle setting, 167 carry, that's pretty much bang on for what I want to carry my 8 iron. Anywhere between 160 to 170 I'm happy with. Descent angle is great. Apex is good, 120. And as you can see here, it's only spinning a little bit of draw spin, 1.9. And then as you go farther up, carry stays, you know, similar, maybe a little less. And then the descent angle obviously gets higher because you're playing it up further. The apex is way higher. The spin's a little higher. And it's actually it's taking off a little of my natural draw spin, so it's pretty neutral with the spin. And then when we get back, we're driving that ball a little farther here with 175 and 171. The distance is going farther because it's going lower and it's hit harder. Descent angle's still good. It's over 45 on both of them. And then the spin knocks down a little bit. And obviously the height right here drops down a lot the further back you go. And then as you can see, the draw, my natural draw comes in even more. And then with it being back in the stance, that's going to cause you to draw it even without the way that I naturally swing. So it's really just dependent on what type of shot you're trying to hit. If you want to fade it, put it up in your stance. If you want to draw it, bring it back in your stance. Five irons, starting with middle just like the rest of them. Now these longer clubs is where I'd start getting into probably pushing it. I'd probably be playing this a ball up, but we'll see what the numbers do. So right now we're starting middle. Lined up. Pretty good one. A little draw, as I'd expect. The further back, so I'm probably usually playing this at least half ball to one ball up, and with that being middle, it came out a little lower than I would expect, and it drew. So let's go to one ball back. Now this is where it's going to start getting tough with the 5 iron. This is more into punch shot range here. So this will probably draw a lot and come out lower than that. That one was 112. Yeah, this look came out low, tried to draw. Face was just a little open because it didn't have time to close all the way. All right, we'll go to 2 balls back. That should be fun. All right, 2 balls back. 5 iron. Now this is like a punch out of the tree shot. Or if it's blowing 50 in your face and you can't get this thing up in the air. But this is not an easy shot to hit. Look how low that is. It's a cool shot. It's tough to control. It's got a real good chance of snap hooking on you. But that's a pretty good representation of 2 balls back right there for a 5-iron. Keeping it low under tree branches or something like that. All right, we'll move up to 5-iron, 1 ball up. All right, 5-iron, 1 ball up. Let's get it in the right spot. So this is getting closer to where I play this for just a stock shot. This probably is where I play it. But we'll know for sure now that we have this thing. Yep, that looks right for a 5-iron. Close the face a little bit, but that's pretty stock right there. Just pulled it. All right, 5-iron, 2 balls up. So this obviously should come out higher. Should start to cut a little bit. I'd rather play it here than 2 balls back, but I think it's a little far up for a standard shot. Well, that's pretty good, but you see it high, fade, weak, going about 186. So if you got to hit something high and you're trying to cut it into right pin or something, might be a useful shot, but definitely not a shot I'm going to more often than not. So now we will move on to driver and finish the test. So here's 5-iron. Even more of an annoying chart layout. I'm not sure why it put it in like this, but the middle one's here. Then we go 1 back, 2 back all the way down here, and then 2 up, 1 up. So it's kind of hard to follow. So the standard one right in the middle of the stance was probably the best shot at 211 carry, which is exactly where I want my 5-iron carrying. About 4,000 spin, 45 descent angle, still good. Peak height of 113, like that. When we go to 1 back, it actually went a little higher somehow and spun more, so I must have just hit it a little higher on the face, I'm guessing. And then it went higher, obviously, like I said, but it only carried 201. 2 back, about the same carry as 1 back, but this is where the height gets drastic. That thing just really knocked down, so that's your punch shot. And then look how extreme the draw spin got. So the descent angle is bad. You don't want to hit this kind of shot into a green trying to hold it. You're using this to punch it into the wind or hit it under a tree or something like that. 1 ball forward. I mean, this is also another good range, like I said in the video. So middle to 1 forward is the sweet spot for me on where to hit the 5-iron. Good numbers all around. A little more spin. Descent angle still great. And just a little bit of side spin. And then 2 up is where it gets, especially with a less loft, I mean, it just gets real hard. You drop way down in distance, you hit it way higher, and it spins way more. So that's a shot if you're trying to hit a cut into a front green over water or something and you want it to come in really steep. That's about the only time I could think that I'm going to use a shot like that, or maybe going over a tree from a long distance, something like that. So yeah, that's 5-iron. All right, we're moving on to driver, starting in the middle. So what I consider middle is basically right off of my inside heel. So I flare my feet a little bit, but right there, back of the heel, or inside of the heel, is where I measured that 8 inches in the build to be, basically, I want that to be my most neutral driver. And then if I move it up, it should fade. If I move it back, it should draw. Let's see if that theory works. Yeah, pretty neutral. I'm not going to hit a better one than that probably. I could sit here and try all day, but we'll get good numbers from that. Still fighting some high spin recently, so got some driver work to do, but we'll move on to 1 ball back, which is what I consider a draw on the board. All right, driver, 1 ball back. I consider that my draw setting. Hopefully it'll draw. And this is kind of where I usually play it, honestly, but that's why I'm making this thing, to see if I need to make any adjustments. So I'm in the center of the board there. Ball is back a little bit. See if it draws. Came out pretty straight, little draw, baby draw, but that was hit good. Where's the spin at on that? 24, perfect. So yeah, that's a setting I'll probably use a lot, just because I don't know, I'm more comfortable. We'll see what the ball forward in the fade position ends up being, but so far I like that one. All right, okay, driver one ball forward. This should come out higher and fade, and it looks way up there to me. I am not used to this. So this would probably be theoretically probably off my toe, not my heel, with that ball forward. So let's see what happens. Fading high. 4,800 spin. There's nothing about that I like. That is too far up there for me. Okay, here's the driver. I'm not sure how this 5-iron got in here, but just disregard that. So we're going to start here with the middle one, which I would consider neutral position, which is just off the front heel. So this is 272 carry, 48 descent angle, and then 3,200 spin. I'm looking at spin more than anything on these drivers, and obviously carry distance. And it only spun 3 degrees of left spin, so that's draw spin. And then one back was even better. Totally knocked the spin down to 2,400, which I love. Drew just a little bit, carried 277, rolled out to 302, so that's great. And then when we put it way up there, one ball up, which is basically off the front foot toe, or I would say outside of your front foot, it looks super weird when you put it there. But I know some people like it, but for me it doesn't work. Only carried 248, 5,000 spin, absolute no-go. Total distance of 266, and then a huge slice. So I definitely won't be playing the driver up there. I will be playing it either middle or one back or somewhere in between. So really good to see that. It's kind of what I assume for myself, but everybody's different. But it just definitely shows you the difference in flight. I mean, look at this one that was one ball up. It went 181 feet in the air versus average these two out, you're around probably 150. So those are my two that I like, and you guys can decide what works for you. All right, so that was a lot of fun. I don't know that I learned that much. What I do know is that I'm going to be using this a lot to try and figure out, you know, where on each club I hit the best shots for stock shots, and then obviously we'll mess around with moving it way up and way back for specialty shots. But this is really going to help me dial in my ball position. I believe that's something I struggle with, and it leads to inconsistent ball striking, especially with the driver. So yeah, so I'll probably do a more in-depth video on that in the future, maybe next week, maybe the week after, of kind of going through more detail with more shots. I'm just trying to keep this one a little shorter since we kept the build of the little aid in this video, and just kind of show you how to build it and what the initial results can be, and then we'll go from there and start practicing with it, and I'll do a more in-depth video down the road. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week.